Floods, fires, eruptions, death. The world is literally spinning out of control. What is happening in 2025 and why the elements do not spare anyone? We've collected the most terrifying footage. Watch this video to the end. You will be shocked. Let's start with the scariest. North Dakota. A tornado killed 3 people. In the evening, the region was hit by a powerful storm. First, the sky darkened. Then a funnel-shaped tornado appeared and began to consume everything in its path. At least 3 people died. Dozens were injured. Houses were destroyed and cars were overturned. Emergency services could not cope with the calls. There were too many victims. Too sudden was the impact. Survivors say they escaped as best they could, in basements, bathrooms, and cars, buried in the ground. The damage is enormous, and recovery will take months. Japan. Powerful eruption of Shinmoidaki volcano on Kyushu. On June 22nd, there was a sharp awakening of one of the most active volcanoes in Japan. Ash covered the surrounding area. The column of smoke reached several kilometers. Residents were advised not to leave their homes. In schools canceled classes, airports are closed, transport is paralyzed. Geologists fear new emissions, and although there have been many such disasters in the history of Japan, the intensity of the current eruption is alarming, even for the most experienced experts. Ohio, USA. The fire on Highway 161 is a fiery hell on the road. A tanker carrying hazardous substances burst into flames on the highway. According to preliminary data, there was an explosion. A column of smoke rose tens of meters. The flames spread to other cars. Drivers abandoned their cars and fled for their lives. Police blocked the highway and residents of nearby houses were evacuated. The damage from the accident is not only material, but also environmental. The river along which the accident occurred is already contaminated with fuel. Suez Canal. A cargo ship rammed into a pier and ran aground. International trade is once again at risk. A large container ship, probably due to a technical fault, crashed into one of the berths of the Suez Canal. The canal is partially blocked. Hundreds of ships are queuing up. The aftermath is being felt around the world, from electronics delivery to food supplies. Egyptian authorities have not yet said how long it will take to restore normal traffic. Central New York. The city is underwater. Heavy rains have flooded entire neighborhoods. Water has burst into underground parking lots, stores, subway stations. People are traveling by boat. Cars have been carried away by the current. The mayor urged residents not to leave their homes. Rescuers are deploying temporary shelters. Hundreds of families were left without electricity and heat. The disaster destroyed the usual rhythm of the metropolis in a matter of hours. Surprised by the scale? We post videos like this every day. Subscribe to stay up to date on disasters and understand what's happening to our planet. And write in the comments, what news stories struck you the most? Mexico, sudden flooding in Menchaca, Querétaro State. In the early morning hours, the downpour turned into a real flood. The streets of the city were instantly underwater. People tried to save property, took children out of their homes until the water reached waist-high levels. Local authorities recognized the warning was insufficient. The disaster came faster than expected. Some neighborhoods are still cut off from the outside world. India. Chanson, Rajasthan. The city was swept away by torrents of water. Heavy rains hit Tonk district, and within minutes, the streets of Chanson turned into raging rivers. Bridges, roads, residences, everything was in the disaster zone. Videos from the scene show cars and people being swept away by the rushing torrent. Not without victims. The deaths of several people have been confirmed. Emergency services are working around the clock, but access to parts of the city is still impossible. Mexico. Flooding in San Rafael Chamapa on the outskirts of Mexico City. On the outskirts of the capital, streams of rainwater merged into huge torrents that burst through poorly maintained sewers. Many residents literally woke up in flooded homes. Streets disappeared under a layer of muddy water. Stores and pharmacies closed. India. Surat, Gujarat, devastating flooding. Floods in Surat are not uncommon, but this time the scale is staggering. Flows of water destroyed roads, bridges, and residential neighborhoods. Schools, hospitals, and administrative buildings have been flooded. Some neighborhoods are de-energized and cut off. People are evacuating on rooftops, waiting for help. Authorities have deployed the army to support rescue operations. Andorra, storm and hail. A small country in the Pyrenees has been hit by a storm not seen in decades. The powerful downpour was accompanied by hail that destroyed roofs, smashed windows, and damaged transportation. Rushing torrents of water and mud came down from the mountains, flooding the city streets. Residents were trapped in their homes. Rescuers called the storm one of the most powerful in the country's history. Greece. Fire on the island of Chios. A large forest fire broke out on the picturesque island. Strong winds contributed to the rapid spread of the flames. The fire spread in just a few hours, getting closer to settlements. Residents were urgently evacuated, but smoke had already enveloped entire villages. Firefighters and local volunteers are desperately fighting the fire. Russia. Transbaikal territory. A large forest fire broke out in the Transbaikal territory, which has already covered dozens of square kilometers. The fire started in a hard-to-reach area and spread rapidly due to dry weather and strong winds. The flames are moving upward, covering not only forest areas, but also approaching dacha settlements and settlements. Residents of some villages have been urgently evacuated. Many are trying to protect their homes by creating fire ditches and watering the areas with water. But the elements are too strong. Emergency situations, ministry forces have been deployed to fight the fire. And aviation is involved. Firefighting helicopters and airplanes are dropping tons of water on the fire centers. But the situation remains extremely difficult. Smoke from the fire has spread for dozens of kilometers, and its smell can be felt even in the suburbs of Chita. Services warn, the situation may worsen if the wind changes direction. According to preliminary data, the cause of the fire could be careless handling of fire or dry thunderstorms. The investigation is already working on the spot. This is not the first time Zabaikali has faced such a disaster, but the current fire is called one of the largest in recent years. Kazakhstan. Pavlodar region, squally winds wreak havoc. A storm front with hurricane-force wind gusts passed through the region, leaving chaos in its wake. Trees were uprooted, power lines fell, roofs were torn off. Some villages were completely de-energized. Videos are circulating on social networks of wind literally blowing away roofs, kiosks, and light cars. Saudi Arabia, hailstorm and destruction. A natural phenomenon uncommon for the region has turned into a disaster. A powerful storm accompanied by hail, the size of a tennis ball, has hit the southwest of the country. Hundreds of homes were damaged, cars had their windows blown out, roofs damaged, and basements flooded. Italy. Hail in the commune of Lissona, the aftermath resembles a war zone. The region of Biella was hit by a powerful downpour with hail. Roofs of residential houses, windows were damaged, cars were beaten, vineyards and farmland have been damaged. The damage to farmers is enormous. Utility services are removing debris and restoring power supply. Local authorities have declared a state of emergency. Mexico. Los Cuartos Dam overflow, threat of a breach. After prolonged rains, the water level in the dam has reached a critical point. Water has begun to overflow, and there is a real risk of structural collapse. Flows are rushing downhill at breakneck speed, turning the slope into a raging cascade. Thick white foam has formed. The water is literally boiling from the force of pressure and air trapped in the whirlpools. This spectacle frightens even those who are accustomed to natural cataclysm.